Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we're going to tackle something we all live by, but can barely even define: time. And more specifically, what happens when it seems to break down, especially in the one place it's supposed to be totally absolute: school.
So yeah, let's just dive right in with the big one. A question that has kept philosophers and physicists up at night for, well, centuries. It sounds so simple, right? But the more you actually think about it, the weirder it all gets.
The philosopher Augustine absolutely nailed it. We all feel time passing. We plan our entire lives around it. We're literally swimming in it. But the second you try to explain what it is, poof, it just slips right through your fingers.
You know, there is one universe where time doesn't feel mysterious at all. In fact, it's the absolute ruler. And that place? Yeah, it's school.
Do any of these sound familiar to you? When are we going to have a break? Or, I don't have the time to finish this. According to Dr. Eva Allerby's research, this is basically the soundtrack of school life. Every single one of these questions points to a total obsession with one thing: the clock. Every single minute is controlled by that bell. So, academics actually have a name for this kind of time. They call it chronological time. Basically, it's the idea that time is this straight line, chopped up into equal measurable bits, like the ticks of a clock. It's a machine, really. Perfect for shuffling thousands of students around and making sure everything runs on schedule.
Okay, but what happens when that perfectly organized chronological system seems to, well, glitch? And I'm not talking about some sci-fi movie stuff. I'm talking about moments where our personal experience of time clashes so hard with the clock that reality itself feels like it's broken.
So check this out. This is a quote from a high school senior on Reddit who shared an experience that it defies all logic. It starts out as a totally normal school day, and then things get really, really weird.
So they go through their morning routine perfectly. They went to an early class, drove home for an off period, and then nothing. A total blank. The very next thing they remember is it's over 2 hours later, and they're just standing in a school hallway with absolutely no memory of how they even got there.
Now, here's where the story gets completely impossible. They were in their pajamas. Their car was locked, but the keys were somehow inside it, on the back seat. And to top it all off, the car battery was just dead. It's a sequence of events that literally could not have happened in that order.
I mean, a lost morning is one thing. That's pretty wild. But other stories describe something even more bizarre. Time not just skipping forward, but snapping back on itself like a rubber band.
There's this animated story about a student who gets trapped in a time loop. Every single day at exactly 2:16 p.m., time just shatters and resets. She's forced to live the same school day over and over and over again. She's a prisoner of the school clock in the most literal way you can imagine.
So, are these just spooky stories, or do they actually point to something way deeper about how we experience time itself? Well, let's turn to the academic world, because they might have an explanation. Dr. Allerby's research suggests that we're not just living in one timeline, but two at the same time. On one side, you've got objective time. That's the time on the clock. But on the other, you've got subjective, or lived time, which is your personal, internal feeling of time passing. So objective time, that's the world of clocks, schedules, and deadlines. It just marches forward, tick-tock, same for everybody, whether you're ready for it or not. It's the time that runs our whole society.
But lived time, that's all you. It's personal. It's the reason why an hour in a boring class feels like forever, but a whole afternoon with your friends can just disappear in a flash. It stretches and it shrinks depending on what you're doing and how you're feeling.
And this idea lines up perfectly with what philosophers like Martin Heidegger were talking about. He argued that time isn't some big cosmic river that we're all just floating down. Nope. He said time only even exists because of our experience of events. In other words, if there's no life being lived, there's no time.
So, let's take these two big ideas, the strict, rigid clock and our flexible internal experience, and ask a really important question about them.
So what? Why does this even matter? Why should we care that we have these two competing clocks running our lives, especially somewhere like a school? Well, the argument is that the whole school system, with its constant bells and rigid schedules, basically trains us to serve the clock above everything else. We stop being people living our own time, and instead we become these objects, just being moved from one 40-minute box to the next. Our own personal lived time just gets shoved to the side.
And you can really feel the weight of that in this quote from a student in that study. You never get the time to think. There's this deep human need for our own time, unstructured time, lived time, to process things, to reflect, to just be. And that's a need the clockwork world of school often has no room for.
And I guess that's the question all of this leaves us with. The clock on the wall tells you what time it is, but what tells you your time? These glitches, whether they're real or just feel real, might be these extreme signs of our minds sort of rebelling against a system that cares more about the ticking clock than the rhythm of our own lives. We all have to live by the clock, sure, but maybe, just maybe, our most important moments aren't measured in minutes at all.